Blackened Heart, Reforged by Gold. Written by Coin of Destiny. Read by Arashi. Byleth awoke to a jab in her side. There was a time when it would have taken quite a bit more to wake her. Spending years as a professional mercenary had her sleeping whenever she could, whether it be the cheapest room in a dingy tavern, sheltered in a ditch, sat upright against a tree out in the freezing cold, or something worse. Discomfort and disturbance mattered not. The Ashen Demon made do with whatever was available, and whatever was available always did her just fine. Well, it used to. All that was a lifetime ago. These days, she had grown accustomed to a plethora of luxuries that were completely foreign to her previous drifter self. In this new life, she was blessed with a soft mattress, silk bed sheets, enough cushions and feather pillows to smother an army, and the only comfort she truly needed, Edelgard von Hresfelg, Emperor of all Fodland, snuggled up against her. It all felt so strange. A normal life, or the closest thing to normal that could be had in the Imperial Palace. The comforts of normality still felt like an impossible dream, yet here she was, living the impossible dream, day after day. For her, comfort meant waking to a doe-eyed, slightly sleepy lilac gaze, a head of long, silvery locks contrasting against the crimson nightgown, the sweet, flowery scent of perfume filling the air, and graceful fingers brushing against her skin. Comfort was a home to grow old in, and a loving woman to share with. Of course, nothing was perfect. Their lives hadn't always been sweetness and light, and with all the horrors they had seen, all the loss, even an emperor would surely have bad dreams. Poor Edelgard, pain remained a constant companion whenever she closed her eyes. Her traumatic past was ancient history. All that remained was dust and echoes. And yet, bitter memories and innumerable scars continued to torment her every chance they got. Byleth could see Edelgard was fast asleep, though shivering and fidgeting ever so slightly. Sadly, there was little to be done while it was still dark out, not without waking her at least. In the hope that it might bring some sense of comfort and security, she cuddled up beside her wife, and with a muffled yawn, shut her eyes and tried to get back to sleep. For just a moment, she thought this might be enough, that perhaps her presence alone would make everything okay. That thought died when an elbow flew over to meet her cheek with a thud. The sudden strike had her wincing in pain, and she was unable to hold back at the yelp that escaped her lips. Fortunately, it wasn't loud enough to alert the guards patrolling the palace corridors, but it was more than enough to wake the woman beside her. Alarmed by the shriek, Edelgard sprung up in bed without hesitation. "Byleth, are you all right? What happened?" "It's nothing. Don't worry. Just try to go back to sleep, okay?" Unsatisfied with this response and unwilling to rest while she believed Byleth was hurting, Edelgard refused to drop the matter. Incessant and stubborn as ever, she continued asking, only to be met with a reluctant, withdrawn demeanor more characteristic of Bernadetta. It was only when Byleth sat up beside her that the truth became clear. For just a moment, her face aligned with the moonlight pouring through the crack in the curtain, and it was for a moment that Edelgard noticed the bright red mark covering her wife's cheek. There was no hiding it now. Byleth could do nothing but watch as Edelgard's expression morphed from confusion to realization in a matter of seconds. "Your face! That was me, wasn't it? Just forget about it. It doesn't even hurt." This was a lie. Although she refused to show it, the reddened mark stung as though she had been struck with a steel gauntlet, a painful reminder of Edelgard's remarkable strength. Watching that might unleashed upon their enemies always left her feeling both proud and delighted. Having it brought to bear against her own skin, however, was decidedly less pleasurable. "I'm so sorry," Edelgard said softly, her eyes full of guilt. She stroked Byleth's cheek with tenderness none save for them knew the Emperor had within her. "There's no need to apologize. You weren't even conscious," Byleth reassured her. "Besides, I'm more concerned about you." "Me? What for?" "You were shivering and fidgeting in your sleep. I thought you might be having a nightmare." "I suppose there's no point in hiding it," she sighed. "Yes, I was having a nightmare. Just the same as always. A dark dungeon, swarms of rats, endless screams. I've told you before, and I'd rather not go into detail again." Byleth made no attempt to press further. Instead, she wrapped an arm around the small of Edelgard's back and patiently listened, allowing her to say as much or as little as she wanted. "It was nothing more than a trivial inconvenience. What truly pains me is losing control of my mind and body. I hate that I hurt you because of a stupid, worthless nightmare. Edelgard scowled and gripped their duvet with both hands, clenching her knuckles until they turned a deathly shade of white, and raged at her own skin and bones for their betrayal. I know you want to help, but no matter what, you cannot restore that which is broken, nor can you ease a lifetime of horrors with the snap of your finger. This is what I am. There was some truth to that. Byleth's abilities weren't limitless, of course. But being resolute as she wasn't about to give up so easily, not while Edelgard needed her. Fortunately, inspiration struck her quickly. Sat atop her nightstand was a small, black bowl with golden veins twisting every which way in no discernible pattern. It was an oddity, to be sure, but it was also just what she needed. Here, take this. Without letting go of Edelgard, she reached over to the nightstand, picked up the bowl, and handed it to her. Edelgard stared at her incredulously, utterly bewildered by the ostensibly irrelevant request. Forgive me for being blunt, but in what world will this bowl be of any help? Trust me. Those two words could have inspired Edelgard with the confidence to move a mountain, or at least try. All right, if you say this will help, I trust you. Byleth simply nodded and doesn't hesitate to explain. See those golden lines? That's where the bowl shattered. The last time we visited Bridget, Petra gave it to me as a gift. She told me it's tradition in her country to repair pottery by filling the cracks with gold. Instead of throwing it away or restoring it to what it was, something new and stronger is created. Something beautiful. A novel idea, I suppose, and I can't argue with the results. It is undeniably beautiful. Perhaps even more so than when it was first sold, completely intact. Byleth, I understand the point you're trying to make, but you and I both know it's not that simple, Edelgard said, her eyes downcast. People and pottery are hardly comparable. I never said it was simple. What matters is that it's possible. You're holding the proof, Byleth stated, offering her a warm smile. And you're right, by the way. People are a lot more complicated. Then what am I to do? Honestly, I don't have the answer right now. But you and I promise to always be there for each other. That means every burden you carry is mine to bear too. And whenever you need someone to lean on, or to pick up your pieces, I'll be here. You're not alone anymore. I appreciate that more than you can know. It's just, I wish I could be as good for you as you are to me. I wish you didn't have to put up with so many of my foibles. Elle, I'll always love you, foibles and all. Edelgard spent a moment in silent disbelief, reflexive doubt reinforced by years of cold hatred and cruelty she'd endured. Years spent believing love and acceptance were for other people, not a broken, scared creature. And yet, when confronted by the heartfelt kindness of the Ashen Demon, such thoughts stood not a chance. It took but a few seconds for all remnants of doubt to fade away like a leaf in the wind, banished just as they had been countless times before. With a gentle sigh of relief, Edelgard's limbs relaxed, and she rested her head on Byleth's ever-comforting shoulder, finding solace in the only place that she would allow herself to be vulnerable, behind closed doors, and in her wife's loving embrace. Contented, Byleth moved to pull Edelgard into a hug, and was halted by two warm hands caressing her cheeks, and soft lips rushing forward to meet her own. She froze at the touch, overwhelmed by shock and excitement in equal measure. And then, finally, she sank into the kiss, losing herself in the surge of passion, the special kind of spontaneity that tasted sweetest under pale moonlight. I love you too, Edelgard whispered as she pulled away, an endearing little grin on her face all the while.